Hello world. I mean, hello there. In this video, we will write our first Java program. And as the title suggests, that program will be the Hello World program, which is usually the first program that you write when you're learning a new programming language. The program will be very simple. All that it will do is print Hello World on the screen. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'll do is open IntelliJ and then click on New Project. Here I'll put the name as Java. I'll leave the location, language and other things as it is, and I'll click Create. Here you can see an src folder inside the Java folder. I will right click on the src folder, select New, then Java class, and I will put the name of the class as Hello World and I'll hit enter. Now what I'll do next is I'll go to the end of the first line, hit an enter, and then I'll type public static void main, and within a pair of parentheses I'll say string space args and I'll put an empty pair of square bracket. Go to the end of the second line, press a space and put a pair of curly brace, and then I'll hit enter. Then on the third line I'll say system dot out dot println, and within a pair of double quotes I'll say hello comma world, and at the end of the third line I'll put a semicolon. This is it. Our Hello World program is ready. Before we discuss further, I think it is important to highlight that not every word of the program will make sense right now. And that is because to write the simplest Java program, we have used some concepts which we are not familiar with yet. But fret not, as we progress through Java, which we will, the details will click naturally. And in my experience and opinion, this is completely normal when you're learning something new. Think of it as learning to ride a motorbike or a car. When you first start, you don't need to know exactly how the engine works or every detail about the brakes and gears. You just need to know the basics to get going. So just like the car, treat this code as a black box, something that you can use without fully understanding it. Coming back to our program, there's a few things that I want to discuss about it. What we have done here is we have put some instruction, and that instruction is to print hello world on the screen. These instructions that we have given is in a human readable language, and we have written using a specific programming language, which in our case is Java. So when you write a set of human readable instructions in a specific programming language, which is Java in our case, that is called a source code. So this is a source code, and the file in which you write the source code is called a source file, and in Java it is called a compilation unit. So if you've noticed, in the first line we have got something called public, and we also have something called class, and then we have hello world. The public and the class here is a keyword, and we're going to talk more about keywords but in a different video. The hello world over here is the name of the class, and the reason it is a class is because there's a class keyword before it. So in short, hello world is a class, which we can say because it has got a class keyword before it, and it also has got a public keyword, which makes it a public class. Remember that I said the name of the class over here and the name of the file are the same, and that it is not a coincidence. In Java, the name of the source file should match the name of the public class. If it does not, Java will throw a compilation error. For the version of Java before 25, which was recently released, all the code must reside inside a class. Java 25.2 supports having a class, but you can write your code without declaring a class as well. For this video, I'm using Java 21. I'll use Java 21 for future videos as well, but we will discuss the differences between Java 21 and Java 25 another day. Another important point is that we can have not just one, but multiple classes in the same source file. And if multiple classes are present, only one can be the public class. And the name of the source file should match the name of the public class. There can also be a scenario in which the same source file has got multiple classes, but none of them are public. In that case, the name of the source file could be anything. Also, by convention, the name of the class containing the main method should match the name of the file that holds the program. And the name of the class that holds the main method is called the main class. Another important point is the capitalization of the file name should match the class name because Java is case sensitive. And case sensitive means that Java treats ABC written in all small and say ABC written in all capital as different. Not just this, if you write ABC in all small and you write capital A and small bc, even this will be treated different. And lastly, the extension of the source file is Java. Next, let us talk about how to compile and execute a Java program. Over here, towards the bottom of the left hand side, you can see a terminal. If you click it, a command line tool will open, or you can open the command line tool which is present in your computer. I'll use terminal in IntelliJ. And over here, if I say ls space hyphen l, which is to list all of the files in the current folder or directory, I can see we've got src folder, which is this one, inside which we have hello world. So if I say cd space src, which is to get inside the src directory, and I do an ls space hyphen l here, I can see a hello world.java file, which is the one that we created and wrote the code to print hello world on the screen. Now to compile, what we will have to do is we will have to type java c without a space, then give a space and put the name of the source file we want to compile, which in our case is hello world.java. And if I hit enter, the compilation will be done. In our case, there were no errors in the program, and that is why the compilation succeeded. But if we had an error, for example, if I remove the semicolon in line number 3 and I do the same step, that is java c space hello world.java, I will get an error saying semicolon expected. So if I put it back and I go for java c hello world.java, the compilation succeeds. Now, to clear the terminal, I'll press Ctrl L and I'll go for ls space hyphen l again. And now you can see we've got another file called hello world.class, which is created when the compilation succeeds. Now to execute the program, what we will have to do is we will have to type java space hello world. And here the extension is not required. You can just put java space the name of the class and you hit enter. And you can see hello world getting printed on the screen, and it is getting printed in the same format that we had put over here. This is how you can compile and execute a Java program using a command line tool. But as we are using IntelliJ, which is one of the amazing IDEs out there, there's a simpler way to do it. All you will have to do is go to the top right, locate this green triangle which says run hello world.java and click it. And as you can see, we are getting hello world printed on the screen. Now, the reason that I showed how to compile and execute a Java program using a command line tool, even if we are using an IDE, is because even if you have all the tools out there to help make your life easier, you should always try to understand how they work under the hood. Maybe not every single detail about them, but at least to some extent. Now, let us understand what happens when you compile and execute a Java program. So, we had a Java source file with the name hello world and extension Java. What did we do was to compile, we use the java c command. And when we do that, the compiler checks if there are any errors present or not. If there are, it will display the error messages. If there are no errors, the compilation will succeed and it will generate a new file with the same name but the dot class extension. And this dot class file contains bytecode. Once the compilation was done, what did we do? We executed the program, right? For that, what did we do was we used the Java command on the generated dot class extension file. And we said Java space hello world. Now, when we do that, something called Java Virtual Machine or JVM in short comes into picture. So before we discuss anything next, let's talk about what a JVM is and what a bytecode is. For that, let us assume this scenario. Let us say that this is you and this is another person. Now, for some reason, you need to communicate with this another person and you know a few languages, including English, and the another person knows only French, for example. Now, given the scenario that you need to communicate to another person and there's no common language that you both can communicate in, what would you do? You would need a translator, right? Someone who can understand both English and French and can help with communication. So, how will this communication flow? You speak something which is, let's say, in English to the translator. The translator will take that and speak with another person in French. Then the translator will translate another person's response from French into English and speak it back to you. This is how the communication can go. Similarly, let's say you can write programs in Java, but your computer fundamentally understands something called machine code or machine language, which consists entirely of binary digits 0 and 1. So you don't know how to write code in zeros and ones, and your computer cannot understand the code written in Java. So what will we do here? Here as well, we will need a translator who is capable of understanding both Java and the machine code. And what will happen in this scenario? The Java code will be translated into the machine code and given to the computer to work with it. So in this case, that translator is the JVM. And what it translates is the bytecode. And as we know already, bytecode is present in helloworld.class file, which got generated as the result of compiling the Java source file. So summarizing, when we compile a Java source file, the compiler checks if there are any errors or not. If there are, it gives error messages. If there are no errors, a new file is generated with the same name, but the .class extension. And the helloworld.class file will contain something called as bytecode. Next, when we execute a Java program using the Java command, the JVM or the Java virtual machine comes into picture. The JVM will load our .class file and will read all the bytecode instructions that are contained inside. Then the JVM, like our translator, will convert the bytecode into a language that the machine can understand, which is the machine code or the machine language. And as we know, it consists entirely of binary digits 0 and 1. And this JVM is what makes Java a platform independent language, which means even if you have written a Java program in, let's say, a Windows system, you can take the compiled bytecode and run it in a different computer running a different system altogether, as long as JVM is installed in that computer too. With this done, let's come back to IntelliJ and let us take a look at the .class file. To locate the .class file, you will need to expand the out folder that you see over here. And here you can see Hello World. If you double click on it, you can see that this file opens and it has got the .class extension. Now there's something written over here in line number 1. If you click on it, it will expand and you can see it says source code recreated from a .class file by IntelliJ IDEA, which means that whatever you see over here was recreated by IntelliJ IDEA from the .class file, which means that the .class file does not originally contain this. This is done by IntelliJ IDEA with the help of the Fern Flower decompiler. So what's happening over here is IntelliJ is using its built-in Java bytecode decompiler called Fern Flower to convert the compiled Java bytecode from the .class file back into readable source code. So if you want to take a look at the original bytecode, what you will have to do is you'll have to right click on the hello world.class file, go down to open in and select terminal. Now over here, if you go for ls space -l, you can see we've got a hello world.class .class file. Here, if you type java p without any space and then give a space, then give a hyphen and type verbose and then say hello world.class and hit enter, you can see something getting printed over here. And this is the bytecode that's contained in the .class file. As you can see, it says that this was compiled from helloworld.java and it has got a lot of instructions over here. Now, this is just for the purpose of demonstration. You don't need to understand any of it. Now, let's come back to our source code and let's take a look at the program that we have written. For now, let's focus on just a few things, enough to understand what this program is doing. On the first line, you can see public and class, which we have talked about briefly and we know are called keywords. We are going to talk more about keywords, but in a different video. Then we have something called hello world over here, which as we know by now is the name of the class. Then we have got a pair of curly brace, which we are going to talk about in a minute. In the next line, we see something familiar, public, and we see a few more things, static and void. And these also are keywords. We will understand what each of these keyword means as we progress through Java. Then we see something called main, which is a method. And this again is going to be another topic altogether. Now, along with main, we see string args, which we are going to discuss when we talk about methods. In the third line, we see system.out.println, and within a pair of double quotes, it says hello world. This line is an instruction to print hello world on the screen. Now, the main method that you see is the entry point of the program, which means the execution of the instruction that we provide starts from the first line of the main method. Now, in our case, there's only one line in the main method, but as we progress and we write more complex Java code, we will come across many instances where the main method easily will have more than one line. So summarizing, we have got a hello world class inside which we have got a main method. And as we have discussed, the main method is the entry point of the program. Inside the main method, we have just one line, which is an instruction to print hello world on the screen. So this tells us that to print anything on the screen, we can use system.out.println, and inside a pair of parentheses, we will need to specify what we want to print within a pair of double quotes, which means almost anything that you put inside the pair of double quotes will get printed. For example, if I say 1, 2, 3, 4 and I run the code, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 getting printed on the screen. And that's what happened. You must have noticed that I said almost anything. And the reason I said that is because you cannot print anything. For example, if I replace this 1, 2, 3, 4 with another pair of double quotes, and if I try to compile and execute the program, we will get an error. And this was the reason I said we can print almost anything. Of course, these pair of double quotes can also be printed if you want them to. But like a lot of other things, this will be a topic of discussion in a different video. Now, reverting the code to print hello world, let me focus your attention to the semicolon over here. Each statement in Java ends with a semicolon. Now, if you're wondering why did line number 2 not end with semicolon or line number 1 not end with semicolon, it is because semicolon is used to terminate a statement, which means the statement ended there. But in line number 2, which is the main method, it is the beginning of the main method and it is ending at line number 4. Similarly, for the hello world class, line number 1 marks the beginning of the hello world class and the hello world class ends at line number 5. Which brings me to another point, and that is the use of curly braces. Curly braces in Java are used to define the beginning and end of a class or method. Everything that is related to the class goes inside the curly braces that is associated with the class. For example, the main method is related to the class that we have, and that is why it is inside the curly braces associated with the class. Similarly, everything that is associated to the method goes inside the curly braces associated to that method. For example, the system.out.println that you see on line number 3 is associated with the main method, and that is why it is inside the curly braces that is associated with the main method. In Java, curly braces helps in grouping statements into code blocks. Another important point over here is that Java is case sensitive, which means that main written in all small and main with M capital are treated differently. So if in our code, I capitalize the M of main, we will not get any error. Now, if you have noticed, the green triangle over here, which we had earlier used to compile and execute the Java program, is disabled. So let's do this. Let's right click on Hello World and let's say open in and say terminal. And over here, we have the hello world.java file. Now let's say we try to compile this and we'll say java c hello world.java and hit enter. And as we can see, the compilation succeeded. The earlier file that we had was created at 3:11 p.m. If I go for an ls space -l, we can see that a new file got created at 3:51 p.m., which means there's no problem with the compilation. But if we try to execute the hello world class, we see that there's an error and that says main method not found in class hello world. And it is requesting to define the main method as public static void main, which is how we had defined earlier, but we have changed it now to have the M of main in capital instead of small, which is what it is requesting us to do. So if we change it back to small m, we can see that the green triangle over here to compile and execute the Java program is now enabled, and we can run this program again and it will give us hello world as the output. And last point before wrapping up the video, whatever you see over here is the boilerplate code. It is a standard starting template that you will use in every Java program that you write in Java 21 or an earlier version. So that is all for this video. I hope I've been able to teach you something new and useful. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or queries, please feel free to put them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.